if you make a fueling plan, you better have an A and B and C plan, because it seems that it can change wildly as the race goes on and the race heats up and things like that.
I'm curious your take on what has changed in the last few years as it relates to heating and cooling and carbs, and like how you approached the race back then versus how you may approach it now, for what you are willing to share.
It's just gotten so much more dialed for, it seems like, across the board for everyone. I mean, even when I was doing ultras in 21 and 22, like, I'm sure people were a lot more dialed than I was. But yeah, I just feel like we've seen it now where like this high carb fueling strategy has changed how people are able to run these things. I feel like I heard someone, maybe it was on the Free Trail podcast, just say like, people aren't dying anymore during the races. And you definitely see it. Like, people just aren't slowing down like they used to because of high carb. I think a lot of that's probably from cycling. It's probably like cyclists have been doing this for years and years. And now finally ultra runners have figured out that this makes a difference. But yeah, like, it's just so much more dialed. Like before Western States in 2022, I totally had a nutrition plan, and I guess tried to follow it as best as I could, aiming for like 300 calories an hour. So about 75 grams of carbs. But man, like about halfway through the race, I like totally derailed the plan. And I was eating like I was eating Mott's gummies and Goo Roctane drink mix from the aid stations. And I just ran with that for like the rest of the race. And so it's kind of funny thinking back to this, like, you know, the best race I've ever had, and my nutrition plan like completely pivoted. So I don't know. I mean, I feel a lot more dialed with that stuff going into it this year, but I think I need to remember that, like, if you make a fueling plan, you better have an A and B and C plan, because it seems that it can change wildly as the race goes on and the race heats up and things like that.
What does your A plan look like from a fueling strategy standpoint?
Yeah, so I run for Skratch now. I signed with them in January, which I'm really excited about. And so we're going to build an A, B, and C plan. And essentially it would be like, the A plan is probably like 100 grams of carbs an hour. That's kind of what I've been hitting for the last about 8 months. And with Skratch, that's a mix of the high carb drink mix, and I take the chews. And then they don't make a gel right now. And so I end up taking just a few other gels just to get that. Because I feel like if I took entirely high carb drink mix, I just need a little, like, something else as well. So
yep,
that would be the A plan. And I think as you went to like the B and C plan, it would be a more dilute drink mix. And so it would be like, rather than drinking it full strength at 100 grams of carbs in a bottle, it would go down to like 50.
Yeah.
Or even like plan C might be drinking the Skratch everyday drink mix, which is like mostly electrolytes, and then taking like chews and gels. But yeah, it's going to be interesting, man. I mean, like, high carb is all the rage, but I think that if it's really hot, it's like physiologically, it's really, really hard to take high carb when it's that hot.
Yeah.
And so I need to just be prepared for that, for sure.
I've worked with Skratch formerly in the past. I love their team.
They're so
I was
awesome.
super stoked to see the Skratch racing team announced earlier this year. I've been running with their products for years, and my strategy is I carry 2 bottles, and I put a scoop of everyday drink mix in each bottle, and I put a scoop of the Skratch hydration mix in each bottle. So it's like,
yeah.
And in the summer, I'll put in, or if I'm at higher intensity, I'll put 1 scoop of the high carb mix. So it's like 35 grams of carbs per bottle, 2 bottles. And then I'll take a gel, or I'll aim to take 2 gels an hour, plus the most of a bottle in the hour. So what's that? Like 95 grams in the hour, but I usually drink 75% of the bottle. So it's like, like 2 bottles for every 3 hours kind of a deal, if that math.
Yeah. It's crazy how well it works. So I'm sure, like, have you noticed that when you moved up to like higher carb, it's just amazing. You don't really fatigue like before, is how I feel.
Yeah. I didn't know that we were going to get into like, let's ring the praise of high carb, but I've got to say it again. Like, one of the first times that I was practicing this approach, I did like, 20 miles in the morning, and then spent 5 hours moving furniture in the afternoon.
Oh yeah.
And I did like 90 grams of carbs for 3 hours, and then literally 5 hours of moving furniture. And it was the craziest thing because I didn't have that like cognitive impairment. I wasn't like brain
Oh
dead
yeah.
after the
Uh-huh.
run and feeling like a vegetable. And I talked to a dietitian friend about it, and she was like, I'm not surprised. Like
Yeah.
that's the that's the
Yeah.
expected outcome when your brain is getting, the fuel that it needs over
It's
that
so
long
funny.
period of time.
I know it's so funny talking to professionals about this. Like, I worked with a dietitian after my sacral, and then I work with ones who Skratch now. And I feel like everything I tell them, they're just like not surprised
Right.
whatsoever.
Yeah.
Things like that. Or
Like, yeah, duh.
yeah, or like the first time I met with the dietitian with Skratch, she just had me write down what I ate for 3 days so she could get a baseline of what I was eating. And this was during the winter, so I was doing like pretty high volume with running and then some schemo stuff.
And you weren't
And
eating enough, let me guess.
no, I was like on it those 3 days. I was
Uh,
like, I'm going to impress her. Like, I'm going to do my best to be as dialed as I can. And those 3 days, I ate so much. And I mean, not like way more than normal, but I did eat a lot. And she like crunched the numbers and was like, yeah, you're eating like 5,000 to 6,000 calories a day. And I was like, sweet. Like, is that too much? And she's like, no, just keep doing that. And I was like, are you sure? Like, I ate so much dairy and milk and all this stuff. And she's like, just keep doing that. I was like, all right. And so I've tried my best to stay on it, but it's just funny because you have these things in your head of like what you think a person should eat. And anyway, they're so helpful, just kind of keeping it simple and telling you what's real.
It's awesome when you get that feedback loop. I have shared a handful of meals with Hayden Hawks, Gwen Jorgensen, like people who are at the highest of, the pinnacle of the sport. And to watch these people eat is
Yeah.
like they're putting on a clinic. It's like
Yeah.
I ate with Zach Miller once in 2016, and I assume you've probably shared a meal or two with Zach, and like to see how much
Yeah.
he eats, it
Isn't it
was
crazy?
crazy. But it's
Yeah.
like that's what's necessary.
That's what's necessary. That's like the biggest lesson I think I learned after that bone injury was just like, yeah, you have to, if you're going to output that much and train that much, you have to put the food back in.
Yeah, I
So
was I had Matt Daniels and Hayden over for dinner when Hayden was living here, and Hayden would just like shovel food onto Matt's plate. It was it was so funny. He's like,
that's
dude,
awesome.
eat the take another
Uh-huh.
slice of pizza. It was great.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. I know. I feel like that's another misconception that people have about athletes. Like, I wouldn't say I eat like the healthiest meals ever you've ever seen. Like last night I had burgers for dinner, and
Me too.
yeah, man. I like, there was another quote someone said, I think Clayton Young said his rules of eating are eat and then eat well. And so it's like, if you're not going to eat well, you better, like, the goal is to eat first. And
Yeah.
I really appreciate that because, like, especially after these, like, a lot of times in Missoula, I run for my long runs. I'll go down to this place called the Bitterroot, which is just south of Missoula. But the place I eat when I come back from those runs is often McDonald's because it's the closest place to the trailhead. But man, it's a lot of calories, and it's probably what you need right then.